You wake up in the morning, the sun is shining, the birds are singing. You open your laptop and click on X to find out who you're supposed to be enraged at all day, and then you see, wait a moment, it's me. I'm the one I'm supposed to be enraged at all day. Just ask all the world's leading defenders of child marriage. David Wood recently admitted to graping two underage girls and forcibly sodomizing them. He hid this from his audience for decades and only revealed it after others threatened to go public. This is who Jews pick to spread Zionism to Christians. You Christians have the spine to call our prophet a pedophile when your role model, David Wood, grapes little girls? Also, what is Mohammedanism? It's called Islam. We don't call your religion Jesusism, do we? David Wood is a disgusting pedo. This is the same guy who has been attacking Islam for decades, yet he himself is guilty of what he accuses Islam of. Wow, we have a pedophile apologist over here. You really don't care about the child grape victims at all? David Wood is running out freely and must face justice for his child grape crimes. Or do you disagree? David Wood, bloodthirsty psychopath, pedophile, rapist, trafficker, cross-dresser, gender dysphoric, all public information. Child rapist David Wood keep calling Muhammad, who married a woman, named Aisha, pedo, even though Aisha wasn't a child. David Wood, ladies and gentlemen, the most popular Christian apologist. Sweet. The predator who fabricated the Al-Zut story. I guess I traveled back in time and inserted the story into your sources, just like the Zut inserted. I'll save that for another time. The pedophile who insults our beloved prophet. He proudly says, I had sex with two girls, 13 and 15. Apparently, these Dawagandists are trying to assassinate my character. They're calling me awful names and saying mean things about me and besmirching my reputation. Who could have foreseen this? Life lesson for you Dawa guys. Beware of D. Wood when he comes to you bearing gifts. In this video, I'm going to respond to these heinous allegations against me. Just in case any of you out there are convinced that 18-year-old D. Wood was a really good guy, I'll share even more about my past, so maybe you can finally understand what you're dealing with. And then we'll see how the tactical geniuses over at Team Dawa just buried their fake prophet and their entire religion, and trust me, it goes way beyond the obvious. They have absolutely no clue what they just did by showing us how to use terms like grape and pedophile. Again, this goes way beyond the obvious being Muhammad. But first, what are these guys even talking about? Well, in case you missed our 6-hour live stream, every several years, me and Sam Shamoun go to war. We normally keep it behind the scenes. This time it spilled over and he started attacking AP in public, which would have been fine if I thought he had any genuine concern for AP or anyone else involved. AP has made decisions, sometimes stupid decisions, sometimes bad decisions, sometimes decisions that would make a billy goat puke. But he's also been a Christian for all of 5 seconds, so people who are criticizing him need to be people who actually care about the well-being of everyone involved, and not people who hate him for some other reason and are just looking for an opportunity to attack him. Sam hates AP because he thinks I chose AP over him. I used to do live streams with Sam, now I do live streams with AP. So, I'd known for the past few years that Sam was going to go after AP as soon as he got the chance. Then it happened, and I let Sam know that if he keeps going after AP in public, I'm going to hold him to the same standard and go after him in public. He responded by threatening to attack and expose me. And I was thinking, expose me for what? What could you possibly say about me that's anywhere close to what I've been saying about myself for years? And on what planet am I the guy who's trying to cover up things I've done? So, it's a really weird situation. Some people just have their go-to method of attacking other people, and they'll still use that method, even if it's against someone the method will never work on. It's like death threats. If you criticize Muhammad, keyboard jihadis will send you death threats. And death threats work on some people. They don't work on everyone. But keyboard jihadis will still send death threats even when they don't work at all because they just don't have a plan B. So Sam has his method. If you cross him, he'll threaten to attack and expose you. I've known Sam for more than 2 decades, and I've learned that the only thing he respects in response is going completely nuclear. If you start going back and forth with him, it'll go on for months or years. If you dial it up to 1 million, he'll flip out for a bit, then calm down. I think it's a Middle Eastern thing. Side note for all of you who are about to say, "But David, the Dawa guys are seeing all of this. You guys are helping Dawa." Oh my goodness, stop embarrassing yourselves. Sam and I could beat each other senseless in the octagon every day for the next 20 years. It's not going to help Dawa. Dawa is a joke. It's collapsing, and there's nothing the Dawa guys can do to stop it. So I went nuclear. We talked about AP, then we talked about Sam. Then we went through Sam's attacks on me, and they sucked. But I wanted Sam to understand that his tactic is never, ever going to work on me. Let me share Wood's words of wisdom here. It's almost always a waste of time to tell a manipulator to stop using a manipulation tactic or to tell him that it's wrong to use a manipulation tactic. By far the best way to get a manipulator to stop using a manipulation tactic is to show him that you know the tactic and that there's absolutely no scenario where it's ever going to work on you. So, to get that point across, I announced that I would expose myself for way worse things than Sam could ever come up with. Think about why that works. Imagine you're trying to blackmail someone. You say, "Hey, you're going to do what I want or I'm going to expose you. I have a video of you speeding. I saw you going 55 and a 54, and I'll tell the whole world if you don't do what I say." Then the guy you're trying to blackmail says, 55 and a 54? Dude, I killed 10 people and I sell crack. You probably realize pretty quickly that your little 55 and a 54 trick isn't going to work on this guy. So I wanted to make that clear. I also wanted people to understand that they don't need to cover up things they've done. You don't need to blab everything to the entire world like I do, but it's really, really good for you to have a friend or a small group of people that you trust enough to be totally honest with them. If you don't have something like that, you run the risk of living a double life. And living a double life will crush you spiritually. Way better to be completely open with at least someone. Or you can blab your sins to the entire world like your boy D Wood. In that live stream, I confessed to doing horrible things. The ones everyone focused on were that when I was 18 years old, out on bond, I had sex with a 13-year-old girl and a 15-year-old girl. Hey, I even mentioned I would give Dawa guys some information. Hey, so before I went to prison, before I went to jail. So I was in jail and then I got out. While I was out on bond, before I went back to jail and then went to prison. Dawa guys, here's your stuff. Here's your stuff. The last 2 girls I had sex with before I went to jail. One. Dude. What? I don't care. One was 13 and one was 15. I pointed out that the girls were fully grown. One was 13 and one was 15. So when Muhammad Hijab's like, "Oh, you know what, if a girl's 13, but she got wide hips," that was the case. She had big boobs and wide hips, but she was 13. I did not care. I didn't care back then. But I said that it was still evil, because even though they were post-pubescent, those girls were still way too young. In the minds of the Dawa guys, if you ever did anything, you can never condemn it because you did it once, and you can never take the opposite side. So I had sex with a 13-year-old girl. Now, she flung herself at me, so I guess I can defend it. No, I don't defend it. Shouldn't have done it. Doesn't matter if a 13-year-old girl flings herself at you. It doesn't matter if she has big boobs and wide hips and so on. You don't do that sort of thing. And how did our Muslim friends react? David Wood recently admitted to raping 2 underage girls. Raping? I did nothing against their will. Those girls approached me. But it's statutory rape, right? Why? Because girls that young can't consent. So, According to Daniel Hakikachu, statutory grape can simply be called grape. Daniel, I accept your usage of the word grape. Let's just call it rape. Let's make it official. From here on, any adult who has sex with a girl too young to consent is guilty of rape and can appropriately be called a rapist. No, Daniel, you never get to take this back, and it's going to be hilarious to see you try. Daniel continues, and forcibly sodomizing them. I didn't forcibly do anything. I said that with minors, they upgrade charges to factor in the lack of consent. So they would have upgraded any charge to something like forcible. But it sounds like Daniel agrees that because minors can't consent, anything done to them can be described as forcible. Once again, I accept Daniel's usage of the word. From now on, any adult who has sex with a girl too young to consent shall have his actions labeled as forcible. You guys see where I'm going with this, right? Trust me, you don't. Again, this goes way beyond the obvious, as you'll soon see. Daniel continues, he hid this from his audience for decades. I hid it because I never mentioned it, and only revealed it after others threatened to go public. Liar. How would anyone threaten to go public when no one knew it happened until I said it? I think we can see why Daniel's fellow Muslims say this about him. I testify that I haven't met anyone in the Dawah that is as deceptive as the pathological liar Hakikachu. Out of all those that I've refuted in the past decade, including atheists, missionaries, and innovators, Hakikachu is easily in the second place after Christian Prince. High praise. But some people reacted to the live stream differently. Unrelated to Sam, but I want to thank you, David. When you exposed your own sins and said what you said about them, that strongly convicted me to do the same. Just now, I confessed to someone close to me about sexual sins I've been hiding for months, and I had no intention of confessing prior to watching this. I didn't even entertain the thought. But now I have a huge weight off my shoulders, and my sin no longer hides in the darkness where, like mold, it can grow and fester. Thank you so much, David. Even if the purpose of exposing yourself was to disarm Sam, it also served as an inspiration. God bless you. Many people did not understand it, but I respect you for coming clean. David, you did it for AP, Sam, and for all of us. The most powerful live stream David Wood ever made. This will resonate for many years to come. God bless you all. Thanks. I've gained so much more respect for you, David, and it encourages me to expose and confess. Maybe not to the internet, but with close relationships. The David makes himself unblackmailable stream.
If Sam is crazy, David Wood is 10 times crazier than he is. And I think he proved it on that live stream.
David, I also wish that the church was just more open. This live stream was so excellent. Although I heard more than I bargained for, I am so grateful the Lord brings together the people he does. Thanks, AP, David, and Jai, for reminding me of the wonder and love I had for the church in the beginning. This was a life changer and paradigm shifter. Thanks again, David and AP. Now, let me tell you why I don't care even slightly if people know about any of the horrible things I've done, and why these Dawah guys are completely, utterly, totally insane for running their mouths. As many of you know, I attacked my father with a ball-peen hammer early Thanksgiving morning in 1994. As I explained recently on Pints with Aquinas, this was the final step in a bizarre purification ritual. I eventually attacked my dad with a hammer. I hit him in the head 7 or 8 times with a hammer. I thought he was dead. I left him for dead. Did you have a reason for doing that? Was he mean to you, or? He had been mean to me. For that, there was no reason. It was not, oh, I'm really mad at you or something like that. It was, it was, I mean, I can describe it. It was like every time I was following a rule, even if it was just like required, like if David, here's what you have to do, I felt like I was somehow polluted, like something had been added to my pure awesomeness and you had added something to me. And so I had this inclination to just, whatever you're trying to make me do, like do the opposite. And I would get this feeling of freedom whenever I would do the opposite. So it's a rule, you can't do this. You can't break into a store, you can't do this, you can't steal that and stuff. And every time I did, it felt good. Like, oh, here's the real me. But you have to keep upping the game, right? And so eventually it's I'll kill my own dad, and then that's going to be like the real me. Then I'm pure. I'm done with it. What else can I do after that? And so I attacked him with a hammer, left him for dead.
Didn't feel anything. Didn't feel any remorse or any
just
excitement maybe.
No, it was I mean, I thought there was going to be some awesome feeling of the ultimate freedom and stuff like that, but it was just, there was just no feeling. There was no good or bad feeling. There was an absence of feeling. I can't think of an English word that accurately describes what a complete lack of feeling is like. Numb, empty, some sort of void. They don't quite cut it. But if someone were to write a story about me during that time, it would seem weird to me to use the personal pronoun he. The correct pronoun would be it. There was an absence of a person where a person should be. So I left my dad for dead, or maybe it left its dad for dead. Got in my truck and I drove from Virginia to West Virginia. About 70 or 80 or 90 miles from Morgantown, where I was heading, my truck broke down, so I started hitchhiking. A guy picked me up and drove me maybe 20 miles to a gas station, but while he was driving me, I was thinking, do I just beat the crap out of this guy and take his car, or do I kill him? You know what saved this dude? He started giving me signals that he was reading my mind. He knew what I just did to my dad, and he was part of whatever experiment I was in. Back then, when I thought you were reading my mind, that's when you were safest around me, because if I wanted to kill you, I would start thinking, but maybe that's what they're trying to get me to do. And then I wouldn't do anything, because if that's what you're trying to get me to do for your experiment, I didn't want to do it. So this guy drops me off. I try calling my family from the gas station. No one answers. I decide to hitchhike. No one picks me up for like the next 30 or 40 miles. I walked from morning to night, and it was cold, and I wasn't dressed for the cold. My face swelled up. My calves turned into knots, but there was something perfect about it. It seemed like I was at war with the entire universe, and the universe was attacking me with cold, trying to break me. So I kept walking. I started throwing rocks at cars when they didn't stop, hoping that someone would jump out of a car and do something so I could take his car. Turns out it's hard to hit a car that just blew by you going 70. Nighttime, I find a trailer by Cooper's Rock. I walk into the trailer. No one's there. But I call my family. Someone finally answers, and my uncle comes and picks me up. The next day, my mom takes me to Chestnut Ridge Psychiatric Hospital. In this mental hospital, I keep going back and forth between thinking these doctors and staff are normal and thinking that I'm part of an experiment and that they're all in on it. There was a window in my room, and I kept thinking that it was digital. It was really a screen, and the outside wasn't real. Keep in mind, I'd been on the other side of that window when my mom brought me there, but it seemed fake. So I wanted to break the window with a chair, but then I would think, maybe that's what they're trying to get me to do. And I wouldn't do it. One day, this doctor walks into my room and says, "David, have you ever been watching a show or listening to a song and thought that it was speaking directly to you?" Yes, lots of times. But how did he know that? How was that dude not reading my mind? Anyway, they keep me there until Virginia puts out an arrest warrant, and they move me to a jail in West Virginia and then to a jail in Virginia. In Virginia, they bring me to my arraignment, but the dumb prosecutor didn't have the paperwork yet, so the judge let me out on a low bond. I got out and I thought, I just beat him. I'm going to get away with this. I was not going to get away with it, but my delusions shifted from thinking people were reading my mind to delusions of invincibility. I thought I would always outsmart everyone and that no one could stop me. I decided to stay out of trouble until my trial, so I got 2 full-time jobs just to keep myself distracted. My plan was to stay squeaky clean. It did not last long. I got in fights at both jobs, but I didn't get in trouble. I hit a guy with a shovel at work and choked him until bloody foam came out of his mouth. We were friends. He just quit and never came back. I didn't get in trouble. The other place I was working was a department store. I kept stealing stuff and didn't get caught even though it was obvious. I would grab something to put in my bag and I would turn and wave whatever I was stealing at the security camera and stick it in my bag because by that time I just thought, I can't be caught. I'm invincible. Somewhere in all of this, I went to some parties with random people I would meet even though I hated parties. People were annoying and disgusting. I went there to watch them act like idiots. Not sure you're familiar with these parties in the 1990s, but it would be a bunch of kids drinking beer and smoking weed and having sex. People had been giving me beer and weed since I was 6, but by the 90s, I had concluded that my brain was the greatest brain ever, and that I shouldn't pollute such perfection with beer or drugs. In those days, my morality, if you can call it that, consisted entirely of 1, do I feel like doing this? And 2, do I think I can get away with it? Whatever you have in your head that says, no, don't do that, that would be wrong, I was born without it. There were always girls who would fling themselves at the bad boy in the room, and I tended to be the bad boy. So yes, among other things, I had sex with a post-pubescent 13-year-old who, for some reason, was at a party, and a post-pubescent 15-year-old. And if I hadn't gotten locked up when I did, I would have done way worse than that. I mean, I used to sit around fantasizing about peeling people's skin off. Once I started fantasizing, it was only a matter of time. You know what's weird? When I remember things from the time I was out on bond, 1994, 1995, I see myself from the outside, but I don't have a face. And it's not just blank like Mr. Potato Head without any pieces added. It's like gray and copper-colored thick liquid, almost like Jell-O, and it's moving. Kind of creepy. Anyway, the last thing I was about to do before I went back to jail was burn someone's house down. There was some kid, I don't even remember what he did to tick me off. He jumped into a fight once when I was beating the crap out of his friend, but that didn't really bother me. He did something else I don't remember, but I decided to burn his house down. He still lived with his parents, so I found out where he lived. I made a Molotov cocktail. I was going to light it and throw it at his house in the middle of the night. But then I thought, well, they might wake up if they hear a Molotov smashing against their house. So I figured I'd do it more quietly. I bought a 5-gallon jug of gasoline, and I was experimenting by mixing it with oil to see what burned best. I was going to pour it all around his house and light it up and see who makes it out alive. And that's when I went to court and they found me guilty. It was really, really good for the world that I went back to jail when I did. If you saw my testimony video, you know what happened. They put me in another mental hospital because no one brought up my mental health history until after the trial. And when they found out after the trial, they weren't convinced that I was competent to stand trial. Went to a mental hospital for a while. I didn't tell them anything about delusional thoughts of people reading my mind or anything like that. So all they knew was the antisocial personality disorder part, and they don't keep psychopaths in mental hospitals, they keep them in prison. Went back to the jail, and I eventually ended up in a dorm with a guy who turned himself in for 21 felonies. My first role model as a Christian was a guy who spent years committing crimes, got away with everything, became a Christian, joined the Navy, talked to some counselor about feeling guilty for the things he had done, and he walked into a police station one day and started confessing. No one would have ever caught him. No one was looking for him. He just decided to be brutally honest. That one act of insane honesty cost him a lot, decades of his life in prison. But where would I be right now if God hadn't used that one act of faithfulness and trust in God to annoy me so much that I started studying Christianity just to show this guy what an idiot he was? After a few months of arguing with Randy, they put me in isolation because they thought I was trying to starve myself to death. But I kept reading about a man who had an interesting habit of taking the most screwed up people on the planet and turning them into something else. Just so you know that God is the same yesterday and today and forever, here's Mark 5. They went across the lake to the region of the Gerasenes. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an impure spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. For he had often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day, among the tombs and in the hills, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? In God's name, don't torture me." For Jesus had said to him, "Come out of this man, you impure spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied, "for we are many." And he begged Jesus again and again not to send them out of the area. A large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs, allow us to go into them." He gave them permission, and the impure spirits came out and went into the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Those tending the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and countryside, and the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man, and told about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him. Jesus did not let him, but said, "Go home to your own people, and tell them how much the Lord has done for you, and how he has had mercy on you." So the man went away and began to tell in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him. And all the people were amazed. Muslims, does it amaze you that Jesus, and I mean the real Jesus, not the cheap knockoff we read about in that 7th century collection of Jesus fan fiction you call the Quran, does it amaze you that Jesus can take the most pathetic piece of garbage on the planet and send him out as an unstoppable witness? Imagine the man who'd had a legion of demons cast out of him walking into town. People start making fun of him. "Ha ha! This guy used to cut himself with stones. This guy used to live in tombs. This guy was possessed by a bunch of demons. Now he's here preaching about Jesus. What a loser." Do you think any of that would silence him? Again, you can get the rest of my story in my Subway video. I'll link to it. But I eventually prayed in that isolation cell. I said, "God, I don't know if I'm going to believe in you tomorrow, but I believe in you right now. If you can do anything with me, you're welcome to it." My Muslim friends, don't you find it just a little bit interesting that the guy who prayed that prayer nearly 30 years ago is out here wrecking your fake prophet? And just getting warmed up because you have no clue what's coming? And you try every trick in your little playbook and you can't figure out how to even slow him down because he's completely immune to everything you've got? You can't stop attacking him, but whenever you attack him, it points people to the power of the gospel to transform lives and ends up exposing your fake prophet even more? You're telling me you don't find that just a little bit interesting? Speaking of exposing your fake prophet, remember when we decided how we would use terms like rape and pedophile? Remember that? Remember when I told everyone that this goes way beyond the obvious? I'll be traveling this week, got a couple of conferences. But when I get back, I'm going to post the follow-up. Obviously, we'll be talking about Muhammad, who did something with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl. What's the word for sex with a young girl, according to our Dawah friends? Rape. And the person who does it is what, according to our Dawah friends? A pedophile. It's official now. Only slightly less obvious is that all the Dawah guys who defend child marriage can, from now on and forevermore, be described as rape apologists and pedophilia apologists, even if they don't partake themselves. Much less obvious is something we'll explore next time. Have you heard about the virgins our Muslim friends believe they'll spend eternity deflowering in paradise? People who hear about this always say, well, they won't stay virgins for long. But that's not correct. According to Islam, Allah miraculously rebuilds their hymens and restores their virginity every night after they have sex. So they're virgins again every morning. But here's what's interesting. The Muslim sources describe these girls as having budding breasts, breasts that are just starting to develop. That's Tanner stage 2, 2 of 5. That's early puberty. And the girls always stay the same age. But we've already seen from our Muslim friends that sex with a girl who's young but has completed puberty should still be called rape, and that an adult who has sex with a girl who's young but has completed puberty should be called a pedophile. This means that, according to our Muslim friends themselves, since they will spend eternity deflowering Tanner stage 2 virgins, they will all be pedophiles and rapists for all eternity. And this means that Allah is the God of infinite rape and pedophilia. The rape and pedophilia last forever. They're infinite. I don't make the rules, guys. I just enforce them. Think I can't make this stick, Muslims? I'll tell you what. You've got at least a week to get ready. You can all unite, any 50 million of you, and spend all week attacking me and calling me names. And you can spend all week preempting my video. I already told you what I'll be arguing. And you can respond to my video as soon as I post it. I predict we'll be sitting right here this time next year with you guys in full panic mode because everyone will be saying that according to your religion, the religion of eternal rape and pedophilia, your words, you will all be rapists and pedophiles forever. What a way to end the year. And it's even worse because by the time my video comes out, you'll already be scrambling to answer some tough questions about the satanic verses. And you're about to learn the hard way that the responses you heard from your sheikhs and imams are a complete joke. What a way to end the worst year in Dawah history. Little unrelated side note for everyone else. You know how I said that when I remember myself from 1994 and 1995, I don't have a face? It's just gray and copper-colored moving jelly. When I think about things that are happening in the world today, everything's covered in that same goop. What do you think that means?